The Electricity Company of Ghana is now charging almost 60% what they used to charge for electricity, and the increment follows recent nationwide public consultation for adjustment in tariffs. And Nanaya Jantwa, Director of Public Affairs of the Public Utility and Regulatory Commission, says several factors, including consumer interest, investor interest, economic development of the country, generation mix, availability of service, among others, were considered before a decision was taken. She added that the Commission also considered the social impact and what a full cost recovery would have on certain category of consumers. We are moving today the discussion from whether we should pay or not and face the reality of how much 59.2 will be. In the studio to help us do the analysis is Dr. Ishmael Aka, Head of Policy Unit at the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP. Many thanks for your time. Ishmael, how bad is our situation to warrant such huge tariffs?
Well, I mean, look at the exchange rate, for instance. Let's look at the tariff setting. There are certain economic factors that influence the tariff. So we have exchange rate. When you look at the last quarter before this increment, I mean, the exchange rate has depreciated about 15 to 19%.
Right.
When you look at the energy mix, the generational mix, when you use hydro, for instance, to generate electricity, it costs about 5 cents per kilowatt hour. When you're using natural gas, that is 9. But when you use light crude oil, that is about 14 to 15 cents. So it means that if we are using more, because our Akosombo is down, if you are using more of the thermal plants, then the cost of production too is increasing. So these are some of the factors. But after the economic, there are other factors we consider.
Right.
And one of them is the quality service performance.
Right.
Two indicators measure this: the customer satisfaction and reliable power supply. So when you remember, in June, we should have increased electricity tariff by 52%. This was deferred because service was not reliable. The fact is that, is it reliable now? So these are some of the questions. So when you look at the economic indicators, things are really bad, and there's a need for certain increment. But when you look at the other side, the technical customer side, then things are also not bad. So we should balance it, maybe strike an average.
Let's look at the generational mix. How bad is it?
Yeah, the fact is that Akosombo is supposed to give us 1,020 megawatts.
Right.
Now we are getting between 500 and 600, so almost half is gone.
Okay.
Bui is supposed to give us about 400, and it's giving us almost nothing, at times less than 100.
Right.
So we are depending so much on the thermal plants. We get natural gas, and even gas is quite expensive now. It's almost like oil.
Right.
So we are depending solely, almost about 60 to 70% on thermal plants, and the hydro is giving us about 30%.
Okay.
However, Akosombo has started rising, so maybe in the next quarter things will be well, and there may not be any increment.
And so, is there no alternative way to resolve our problem other than burdening the consumer? Well,
for me, I think that VRE as a generator, in fact, they are generating a lot, and there's this problem of the government being a customer and again an owner of VRA.
Right.
I think that we should be able to, if it is possible, maybe list a portion of the VRA, maybe 30% on the Ghana Stock Exchange, for them to raise money for their expansion, for so many other things, so that what customers will pay for may be the fuel and so many other things we pay for. But if we don't do that, then almost all the time, the 59 may not be enough for VRA. Okay. But that is so much for the customer.
Exactly. So, whose salary has not been increased for a long
that is
time.
It. So what we are doing is that we are burdening the customer, and we are not solving VRA's problem.
Right.
So until we look at the root causes and solve them, we will keep on piling and we'll never get anywhere.
I will go to the root causes, but in reality, 59.2% means what? How much are we paying?
I mean, when you look at industry, for instance, then it means they are paying about 40 cents 40 cents per kilowatt hour. As I said, using light crude oil to generate is around 13 or 15 cents.
Right.
They will need to add their margin, distributional margin, transmission margin, and all. So that is how much industry. That is quite not low. I mean, people say we are not paying realistic. That is not low. Right. Because we should also bear in mind that the exchange rate that is affecting ECG and VRE, the same exchange rate is affecting businesses.
Exactly.
So if you think that, oh, let us pass it on to them.
Consumer.
I mean,
where's
what
the consumer getting the
we
money
are doing
from?
is that we are collapsing industry. So I think some of these things we should look at it from a very systematic way.
So how much do we pay for a unit, and how much will 59.2% mean? I mean, if we're paying, for instance, 1 CD for a unit, if we're paying 59.2, should be how much cedis?
Yeah, we were paying around, per the last quarter, about 14 cents per unit, kilowatt.
Okay.
Now, when you add, say...
14 cents will be how much Ghana cedis?
14 cents, that will have to do a lot of calculations
to get there. But it looks like it's less than 1 cedi?
Yeah, it's less than 1 cedi.
Okay.
Now, if you should add the 59, that means you are getting somewhere around 21 cents.
Okay.
I mean, when you look at how much you use, I mean, the kilowatt hour is very small. And you look at how much you use, I mean, that is quite huge for so many people. So especially residential and small and medium scale producers. Others will say, yes, generator may be higher than what we are charging.
Right.
But that is not how we should drive the argument. I think that exchange rate and all the economic factors affecting VRE is also affecting businesses.
But economists have said, or they've predicted, that the exchange rate will go higher. And so does it mean that we should envisage, or we should expect more tariffs or more, upward adjustments?
I don't think so, because one problem with the PURC is that when the hydro component is high and the thermal component is low, they should have, for instance, look at how much we are paying. So there should have been instances where tariffs would have decreased. Do you understand? There should have instances where tariffs should have decreased. But so if exchange rate goes higher, and for instance, you're getting more water in Akosombo and generating more with Akosombo, it means that though exchange rate is getting higher, Akosombo is reducing the cost of production, and that can smoothen it. Yeah.
There are people who feel that, listen, I'm not going to pay for this. And we had MP for Adansia Soka says, Medasum, I'll sleep in the dark, and so I will not pay. And it's not like it's a criminal offense. You don't pay, you don't get electricity. And probably you may want to rely on your gensets. Let's look at operating a genset and getting power from ECG. Which one is more cheaper? And you think if you do such analysis, we shouldn't complain and rather pay the 59.2%?
Well, I think that using a genset and using power from the grid, I mean, it will be like 30, even less than, the power from the grid is less than 30% of a generator. Okay. Because, yes. But what I'm saying is that we shouldn't look at the argument that way. It's just like Ghana's budgets and using the hydro.
It's more than 10 days.
Are
we feeling it?
Yeah. Or the budgets, they've done with the interconnection, and I think that it will start working very soon. So, that should not. The generator is just an emergency solution. Okay. I mean, the grid should provide us with reliable power supply. Okay. So there's one case for reliability, then the other case for economics. Almost all the time you just look at the economic indicators. That is my problem. Yeah, so almost all the experts who are going for the 59, that it should have even been more. They are talking about exchange rate. It's good. But we should also look at the fact that when you look at the formula we use to calculate, apart from the economic factors, we also have even productivity factors. Okay. So before now, one machine will break down. What will be the impact of that machine breakdown on customer satisfaction? Exactly. And some of these things should be subtracted so that it will serve as a punishment.
Do you care about the consumer? No, you don't.
So if we don't do that and we just pass it on because economic indicators are, people will be lazy. I mean,
and even in Ghana, there's been the experience of even if the indicators come down or if the exchange rate come down, we'll still pay the same amount. I bet you. I mean, that's what a lot of consumers believe, and they're talking from experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said that there were instances electricity prices should have been reviewed downwards.
But
I mean,
it wasn't done.
We didn't do it.
It wasn't done.
So when you come and almost all the time, when it is bad, let us pay. When it is good, you don't say anything about it.
You should be the beneficiary.
Yeah, so it's, if we don't take care, people will start losing even confidence in PURC, and some of these things may not help.
But the other argument has been that once the fundamental problem of inefficiency is not resolved, forget it. Even if you burden the consumer, we will still face the challenges. Do you think so? Yeah,
I mean, that is what I'm saying, that look at the initial proposal of VRE. I think they were looking for something around 300%. We are giving them, later it came to, the average came to 128%, and we are giving them 59%. You see, VRE generate, as VRE is a business entity, they generate, sell to ECG, ECG sell, and customer, government uses about 40%, we don't pay for it.
Right.
Who pays for that one? We don't know.
Right.
ECG buys the fuel in dollars,
okay,
and sell it in cedis.
Right.
There are exchange rate losses, like what those oil companies used to say, under recoveries and all those
right,
things. Who pays for it? We don't know. So these are two. What I'm saying is that we need to even invest. What we pay, VRE uses it for fuel and some other things. What we have to do is to get a sustainable funding for the state institutions.
Right.
And since government is not doing that, and government is using power and not paying, we should be able to list at least a percentage. That will even help them in terms of corporate governance and everything. So 30% value of VRE should be listed on Ghana Stock Exchange. They will use that to raise revenue.
Right.
It will help transparency, and they can use that to invest.
Okay.
Efficiency, distributional losses will go down,
right,
and they can also expand.
Okay.
If we don't do that, and we think that almost all the time we will come and pass it on, next 4 months we will still increase, and they will not get what they want, and customers will also not get what we want.
And so from the look of things, there are people who feel that in the next few months, look, the tariff will even go almost 100%. Do you foresee something like that?
Not almost 100%. I see maybe by April issue, if it will go up. I don't know
upwards than 59.2,
because we're looking at the exchange rate, we're looking at the generational mix, and let's look at even the badges.
Right.
Coming to give us about more than 500 megawatts. That is quite expensive. And normally
we have just one now.
We have
two. Two are in.
Yes, we have Amri came before car power. Just that car power is popular and everybody's. Yes.
Okay.
So we've done the tie-in at Amri. Car power is already in, and
right,
these are quite expensive than the normal one.
Right.
When you add this, Asogli is adding 180, so the Tamar plant component may be more.
Okay.
And when they are more, what it means is that economically we should increase tariffs.
Okay.
But as I'm saying, if hydro, like from Akosombo, start also rising, then this should drive costs down, and consumers should be able to see the difference. So if the next 4 months, if we are getting more from hydro, let us reduce prices, especially when the exchange rates say remain the same.
Right.
So that consumers will feel, if not, and all the time you are just piling. A time will come, it will encourage illegal connection and some of these
prior
things.
to the worsening power crisis, we used to hear about Chwabo, Ghana Gas, Tico, and all the other ones. How much are they supposed to add, and are they really efficiently producing what they're supposed to produce? Then why do we find ourselves in this situation?
Yeah, I think that with Tico, what we did was to have an expansion. It was giving us around 220.
Right.
Let us expand it and add 110 to it.
Okay.
I think it was giving us 300. Let us add expand and add 110. They promised that it would be ready in August. It didn't come. VRE is building Tamar plant,
right,
220. They promised November. It didn't happen, and nobody is asking why it didn't happen. Asogli promised 180. It will be ready in November. It's still not ready as at now. So if you add this capacity, that would have been 550, more than what the badges will even give us.
Okay.
But there are issues. For instance, let us look at the Amri badge.
Okay.
Amri badge will use natural gas.
Okay.
Ghana Gas is going to supply. VRE is buying and will sell to Amri Gas.
Okay.
Ghana Gas supplies 110 million cubic feet of gas to TAPCO and TICO.
Right.
Now, TICO gives us 300. TAPCO gives us 300.
Okay.
Now, TAPCO uses 50 million gas.
Okay.
TICO uses 60 million. That's a 110.
Okay.
Now, we're going to take what TAPCO was using, the 50 million, for AmeriGas to give us 250. So it's like sacrificing the 300 we had for the badge for the 250, which is, I don't know why we did that.
So
VRE will have to now find money, because the TICO is a combined cycle, find money to go and buy light crude oil. And that will cost us about $15 million a month. VRE already owes $2 billion, and the banks are not willing to give them loans. So
this brings back the discussion on planning. This is clearly a failure of planning.
That is
and is it fair for the consumer to bear the brunt of all of this?
I mean, it's not fair. At times, I even argue that, look at the exchange rate. We always cite exchange rate is bad, but is the consumer cost the exchange rate to be that bad?
No.
So I think we should have, like the oil prices. We decided to establish something we call mitigation fund. That when prices go beyond certain level, we use that to help cushion consumers. I think that we can start planning something for the electricity sector. When exchange rate becomes so unbearable, which is not the customer's cost, we can use some of these funds to help cushion the customer. If not, I mean, we'll just have to pile it on, and customers will be tired one day.
What happened to BUI? Is BUI still functioning? We haven't heard much about BUI this time around.
BUI is functioning, but as at now, it's giving us, it should have given us about 400 megawatts. It's giving us less than half of its capacity.
Less than, that is about 100 and something.
That is about 100 and something.
So low. I mean, what's accounting for this?
I mean, low rainfall and the same issues Akosombo is facing. So we hope that there will be rainfall in the north and to affect BUI and Akosombo.
Now, I know that the court hasn't been it hasn't favored the consumer a lot of times, because of course you go to court to challenge some of these tariffs, but you need to also provide tangible reasons. I mean, some of the reasons are just emotional, and you cannot even present empirical evidence or something, but in reality it's still unfair. So how can consumers ensure that they get value for money? Because it's very tough. Workers are not, their salaries are not being increased. Some of them are even losing their jobs. But of course, you can't say because you are not working, you want to sleep in the dark. So how can consumers get value for money?
I think that people should start suing PURC, because when you look at even the law, ECG is supposed to report the number of power blackout and some of these things to PURC. PURC does not have any independent way of checking how many and all that, and how this is affecting customer. And as I said, looking at the formula, I mean, this is not emotional. We have economic factors. We have customer quality service performance. We have productivity factor. Now, these are subtracted. The quality service performance is subtracted. So there are two indicators for quality service performance: reliable power supply and customer satisfaction. Until PURC can prove that, yes, we all understand that economic factors are going up. But if you can prove that customers are getting satisfaction and supply has been reliable, I don't think that there's any justification for even any increase. But yes, we need money. Things are not good. So that's why I said that let us strike the average. We should have given them 59. But because of these other factors, productivity is low, because we gave them, for instance, distributional losses should have been cut by 250, and commercial loss should have been cut to 15% now. It's still around 20%. That 5%, who pays for it? Is it a customer? So because of all these things, we gave them target they couldn't meet it. They should tell customers when they will be light out, they are not doing it. Reliable supply is bad. We're going to subtract this 15% from the, say, 59%. And that is punishment to them. It will let them work to improve. But if it comes and you just mention and you say you consider customer interest, how do you even measure customer interest?
And you even considered availability of service. Where is the service?
That is it. How do you measure customer interest? So
and,
which one did you take?
Which consultation did you do with customers, and you got to know what
I think
interest?
that it is hard. People can take them on. People can.
Is it only PURC we should be suing?
I think
How
ECG,
about the provider who
ECG
takes our lights anytime,
ECG
no schedule, nothing?
Can be sued, but just that if you're targeting ECG, all of us will have to go to court. Maybe they may not get time to even work. So ECG can be sued, and I think Kofi Kapito said he will be going to court.
Right.
He said we will start doing our calculations and all that. We're going to support him technically if he wants to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's look at the confidence level. I mean, people are losing confidence in the ECG. I mean, we heard about privatization of ECG to make it better, and the fact that the power minister promised to end this load shedding or this power crisis. He says we shouldn't say doomsday, so I'm being careful. So the power crisis still lingers on. Even, I mean, he says he wants to resolve it in 2015, but that's not happening. So do you foresee this ending anytime soon? Yes,
I think that the impact will reduce in 2015. Let's say after 15th December, after the last half of December.
That's December 2016?
December 2015, it will start reducing.
Okay.
CAPA will come on board, AMRI will come on board.
Right.
So I don't see it resolving it, but there will be some reduction.
Okay.
Then in the first quarter of 2015, by then, they are doing testing on PON now.
Right.
They are doing testing at Asogwe, but we should also remember that we need fuel. And already, Nigeria gave us a deadline of February 2016 to come and pay our debt. And we did not say anything about it in our budget.
Okay.
I don't know how we're going to find money to pay that.
Right.
So if we don't do it, we're going back. But if we're able to pay, then I think the doomsday can be solved in the first quarter of 2016.
Well, many thanks to Dr. Ishmael Aka. We're very grateful having you on today's Big Story. We've been talking about utility tariffs that went up and the controversy surrounding it. A lot of consumers are not happy. A lot of businesses are not happy about this. And we are moving the discussion from whether we should pay or not, but to look at the reality, how bad our situation is, whether the situation warrants, burdening the consumer with such huge sums of money. And you heard Dr. Ishmael Aka, he outlined it rightly, and he's saying that, look, if you want doomsday to end 2015, he begs to differ, maybe first quarter of 2016. We'll live to see. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. This is today's Big Story. Good evening.